He gave up his wife, his home, and 800 million naira, all for a woman he had never met. Blinded by desire and ego, Ben thought he had found the love of his life online, young, seductive, everything his humble wife was not. But when he finally opened the door to their dream home, expecting romance, he found something else entirely. His ex-wife, Amma, standing there with the truth that would shatter him. Ben was 38 years old, a wealthy businessman in Lagos, known for his charm, his sharp suits, and his powerful name. He had it all: cars, properties, staff who stood up when he walked into a room, and friends who praised him like a king. People expected him to marry a certain kind of woman, the kind who had followers in the millions, who wore diamonds to breakfast, or whose parents had names that opened doors. But Ben surprised everyone. He fell in love with Amma, a soft-spoken woman from a small village raised by her grandmother, known more for her quiet strength than flashy beauty. She didn't wear expensive wigs. She didn't speak much English, but she had something that money couldn't buy: peace. They met at a wedding in Enugu. She was serving drinks. He was a guest in a silk-white caftan. Most women threw themselves at Ben, but Amma barely looked at him. That's what caught his attention. He said hello. She smiled shyly and walked away. That one smile stayed in his mind for weeks. He searched for her, asked around, found out where she lived. When he finally met her again, she was shy, unsure, even scared. "Why would a man like you want someone like me?" she asked quietly. Ben chuckled. "Because I've had everything, Amma, and none of it felt real until you smiled at me." It sounded like a line. Maybe it was, but Amma believed him. Slowly, she let her guard down, and soon the girl who once served drinks was sitting in his car, blushing at the way he looked at her. When he proposed to her 6 months later, the world stopped. People didn't understand. He left all those Lagos girls for her? She must have done something to him. But Ben didn't care. He flew her to Dubai for a wedding dress fitting. The wedding was something out of a movie. White roses, a sea view hall, live saxophone music, and guests dressed in gold and ivory. Ben kissed her hand in front of everyone and whispered, "From now on, it's just me and you, Amma. No one else matters." They danced like best friends. They laughed like children. And that night, under soft lights and gentle music, Amma closed her eyes and thanked God. She truly believed this was her forever. After the wedding, they traveled for their honeymoon. Paris, Maldives, Cape Town, private jets, sunset dinners, matching robes in hotel rooms with gold taps. Ben pampered her, bought her perfumes, handbags, silk dresses. He'd take her photos and say, "See my queen?" She was glowing. She felt seen, loved, wanted. Even when they returned home to Lagos, he kept up the same energy. He told the house staff to call her Madam Amma. He hired a chef to cook her favorite village soups. He even tried to learn a bit of her dialect, though he was terrible at it. 1 year later, they had a baby boy. They named him Kamsi, as I asked of God. Ben was there in the hospital, held her hand through the pain, kissed her forehead, cut the umbilical cord himself. When he held Kamsi for the first time, his hands trembled. He laughed and cried at the same time. "This is my son," he whispered. "My world is complete." They took family pictures. They sent thank you cards. Amma would sit for hours rocking Kamsi to sleep, smiling at the way Ben held him, talked to him, and called him my little king. Life was good, at least for a while. After Kamsi was born, Amma thought things would only get better. Their son was healthy, strong, and full of life. Ben had held the baby with tears in his eyes, calling him my little king. But not long after they returned home from the hospital, things started to shift. At first, it was small things. Ben became quiet, distant. He stopped joining her in the kitchen like he used to, asking how she was doing or joking about her cooking. When she served him food, he would barely touch it. She thought maybe he was stressed, maybe the new baby was too much, so she didn't complain. Then one night, Amma entered their bedroom and found it empty. Ben had moved into the guest room. His excuse was simple. "The baby keeps crying. I need sleep." She understood, or at least she tried to. But nights became weeks. He didn't come back to their room. She started waking up alone, dressing the baby alone, eating alone. When she approached him gently one morning, holding a plate of yam and egg the way he liked, Ben looked at her, really looked at her, and sighed. "You look tired, Amma," he said. "Like, really tired." She smiled weakly. "It's the baby. I'm still healing." But his next words didn't come with concern. They came like a slap. Childbirth really did a number on you. You've changed. You used to look fresh. Amma felt a knot form in her chest. She hadn't worn makeup in weeks. Her nightgowns were stained with milk. She barely had time to shower properly. And yet, she thought Ben would understand, that he would see her sacrifices, that he'd still love her anyway. But slowly, she started seeing the difference in his eyes. He no longer looked at her the way he used to. His stares weren't warm anymore. They were quick, cold, distant. She began to notice he was always on his phone, smiling at the screen, hiding it when she came close. One night, as she walked past the guest room, she overheard him laughing. "You're so sexy," he whispered into the phone. "Let me send you something." The next morning, Amma found a bank alert on the joint account. A large amount had been transferred out. She didn't ask. She didn't need to. She knew. Ben was sending money to strangers, girls online, women he barely knew but treated better than his own wife. Meanwhile, she struggled to buy baby wipes. The baby's food had finished. She hadn't replaced her torn bra in months. Even her body lotion was finished. She had been using baby oil. One afternoon, she gathered the courage to knock on his office door. "Ben, please, we need things. Kamsi needs medicine and diapers." Ben barely looked up. "So you've come to beg again?" Amma blinked. "He's your son." Ben stood up, annoyed. "I'm tired of this, Amma. I regret marrying you. I swear if I could go back, I'd do things differently." She stood frozen, holding the baby. "What? What did I do wrong?" "You changed. You became boring. You're not the woman I fell for." "Because I became a mother?" she asked softly. "And what has this got to do with giving me some money to buy things for our baby?" He didn't answer. That night, she lay in bed alone, scrolling through her phone. She opened Instagram and paused on a story someone had tagged Ben in, a dinner party at a high-end restaurant. Ben was there, laughing, sipping wine, with two young women on either side of him. He wore a gold chain, a fresh haircut, the same smile he once wore when he looked at her. Amma felt something break in her chest. It wasn't just about the cheating. It wasn't just the money. It was the complete erasure of everything they once shared. So the next morning, while feeding Kamsi, she walked slowly to Ben's room. He was shirtless, talking on the phone. She waited. When he hung up, she said quietly, "Ben." He looked up, already annoyed. "What? Please, what happened to the man who used to kiss my scars and say I was his world?" He paused for a second, just a second, then shrugged. "That man died. I've moved on." Amma nodded slowly. No tears came. She was too tired. The look on his face suggested he wasn't talk about it. She walked away. She didn't understand what she did wrong, but she felt that with time, he would come around. He never did. Ben sat alone in his home office late one night. The house was quiet, the kind of silence that used to feel peaceful, but now just felt empty. Amma was asleep, probably in the baby's room again. He didn't care to check. He scrolled through Instagram like he did every night now. His thumb moved lazily over filtered photos of parties, vacations, and women. That's when a certain profile popped up in his suggested follows. At Ada_Lux, her display picture was soft. She wore a silky robe standing by a hotel window, light bouncing off her smooth skin. Her bio said, "Soft life or no life, vertical bar, Lagos, vertical bar. Sip champagne, not stress." Ben smirked and tapped. Her page was perfect. Every post looked like a luxury magazine cover. Beach selfies in Zanzibar, rooftop dinners in silky gowns, soft makeup, pouty lips, every caption written like poetry for men with money. A queen doesn't chase, she attracts. If you don't spoil her, someone else will. Peace over pressure every time. He liked 3 pictures. Within a minute, she sent him a DM. At Ada_Lux. "Wow, the real Ben Billionaire liked my picture? Should I faint now or later?" Ben, "Only if I can catch you." At Ada_Lux. "You're smooth. I like that." From that moment, something sparked in Ben. The way she typed, the way she complimented him. It felt refreshing, exciting. Every morning she messaged first. "Good morning, handsome. Did you sleep well?" Every night she sent hearts and teasing voice notes. She called him sweet, baby, man of her dreams. By the 3rd day, he was hooked. They chatted every chance he got, in traffic, during lunch at the office, even during business meetings. He'd mute his phone, sneak in a reply, smile into the screen like a boy in love. Amma barely noticed. Or maybe she did, but she was too tired to say anything. Ben didn't care. He had something new now, something that made him feel seen again. At Ada_Lux wasn't like Amma. She didn't ask him for anything, not at first. Instead, she gushed over his voice, sent him photos in bathrobes, whispered sweet things through voice notes. A man like you shouldn't be suffering with a woman who doesn't appreciate your worth. You deserve kisses, not complaints. He felt like a king again. So he started sending her things, small at first. 50,000 naira for airtime, then 100,000 naira for data and lashes. A week later, he sent her a designer bag she mentioned loving in one post. Then came 700,000 naira for a new iPhone. She didn't ask, she only hinted. He happily offered. He told himself it was nothing, he could afford it. And besides, this was attention well earned. The more they talked, the more he vented about Amma. My wife is lazy, he typed one night. She doesn't even try to look good anymore. I regret everything. You're different. At Ada_Lux replied, that's because I still believe in love. I know how to keep a man happy, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. That message nearly made him blush. She was perfect, not only beautiful, but soft, kind, always ready to listen, never nagging, never asking for too much. One day he joked, I wish I could leave this whole mess behind and just be with someone like you. She replied almost instantly, I wish I could save you from that mess. If only we could live together in peace. That line stayed in his head all night. Live together. Peace. He imagined it. Just the two of them. No crying baby, no stretch marks, no drama, just warmth, sex, laughter, and praise. The next day he decided to test her. Babe, he typed, things are tight right now. I may need your help financially. Just small support, nothing big. He didn't expect much, but within 15 minutes his phone vibrated. An alert, N5 million, sent from a Zenith bank account. He blinked. You serious? At Ada_Lux. Yes, I don't love you for your money. I want you, the man behind the name. Ben stared at the screen, stunned. All this time, Amma never gave him peace. Always asking, always crying. But at Ada_Lux, she gave, asked for nothing, and made him feel wanted. His heart raced. He felt chosen, powerful, alive. He stood by the window that night, phone in hand, reading their chat again. I want you. Those words echoed in his chest, and for the first time in a long time, Ben felt like maybe love wasn't dead. It just wasn't with Amma. Ben was hooked. It was no longer just about flirting or late-night chats. Now he woke up thinking about Ada, the girl online, and fell asleep replaying her voice notes in his mind. He would smile at his phone like a teenager. She called him my man, my king, and told him he made her heart skip. And Ben believed every word. This woman was different, gentle, sultry, understanding. She made him feel like a god. He no longer had any interest in Amma. If anything, her presence irritated him now. She moved too slowly. Her voice was always tired. Her clothes, plain, her hair, never done. She was a reminder of the life he no longer wanted. Meanwhile, Ada was the future. He began imagining what her perfume would smell like, what her skin would feel like if he finally held her. But she always pushed the idea back gently. You're still married, Ben, she would type. You know I can't be with a man who hasn't closed that chapter. But I want you. I don't want to wait anymore, he replied one night. Then show me, she said. Show me I'm not just another online girl. Show me that I mean something. Ben didn't hesitate. He told her he was ready to do anything, even leave Amma. She's a ghost to me now. You're my everything. She sent a voice note that night, soft and slow. Then let's start fresh, Ben. Sell your house. Let her go. I found a new property. I'll buy it for us. We can move in together. No more hiding. Ben sat in silence, staring at the screen. He imagined it clearly. No more crying baby, no more stress, no more boring nights. Just him and Ada in a fresh, elegant space, parties, peace, passion. He was obsessed, lost. The very next day he called his agent. Discreetly find me a buyer. I want to sell the Lekki house. No press, no family, just a clean deal. Within a week, the house was sold for 800 million naira. Ben had lived there with Amma since their wedding. Kamsi had taken his first steps in the hallway. But now, it was just a memory. He transferred the entire payment to a new account Ada had sent him. Her message was warm and excited. Thank you, my love. I'll handle the purchase and all paperwork. I found a gorgeous 5-bedroom duplex in Seaview Park. You'll love it. It's perfect. Private, peaceful, classy, just like us. Ben felt light, like a man reborn. He began packing little things secretly. Amma barely noticed. Or maybe she did, and didn't care anymore. She no longer argued, no longer asked questions. She simply moved around the house quietly, caring for Kamsi, folding clothes, singing lullabies. Ben didn't bother to hide his smile when Ada messaged him. He even chuckled once while reading her text right in front of Amma. She said nothing. Then, one cloudy Thursday afternoon, as Ben walked into the living room, he saw Amma sitting on the couch, a brown envelope in her lap. She stood up slowly. "I think it's time," she said softly. "You win, Ben. I just want peace. I'll go back to my family." She handed him the divorce papers. Her hand didn't shake. Her voice didn't break. Ben didn't hesitate. He picked up a pen from the dining table and signed. "Finally, freedom," he whispered. She looked at him one last time. "I hope you find what you're looking for." And then she walked upstairs. Ben didn't feel guilt, only relief. He sent Ada a message right after. "It's done. She's gone." Ada replied with a red heart and a voice note. "Good. Now we can finally be together. I can't wait to build our forever." Ben lay back on the couch, staring at the ceiling with a smile. He felt light. He felt alive. He felt free. Ben stood in front of his packed suitcase, his heart beating faster than usual. Amma had left earlier that morning quietly and without a trace. The house was empty now, and he didn't bother looking around one last time. His thoughts were somewhere else, on someone else. He took a deep breath and texted her. "Ben, I'm ready to be yours forever." Almost instantly the reply came. "Ada, can't wait, come quickly." Ben smiled to himself, that same boyish smile he wore when they first started chatting. He locked the front door, slipped into his car, and drove through the streets like a man finally claiming the happiness he believed he deserved. The moment he arrived at the luxurious Seaview Park property, he paused to admire it. Clean lines, elegant balcony, modern finish. Everything about it screamed success. "We'll have beautiful mornings here," he whispered to himself as he walked up to the door. He turned the key gently, a little giddy inside, but the smile quickly fell from his face. The living room wasn't empty. Amma was standing there, calm, centered, almost regal in the way she held herself. Beside her were her lawyer and two movers, boxing up designer bags and documents. Ben blinked. "What's happening here?" he demanded. "What are you doing here?" He was confused, angry. He thought she had tracked him down out of bitterness, that she had followed him to ruin the one thing he had left to be happy about. But Amma didn't flinch. She turned slowly, her eyes sharper than he'd ever seen them. "You're such a fool, Ben." His stomach dropped. Her voice wasn't soft. It wasn't pleading. It was cutting, like ice through skin. "I asked you a question," he snapped. "How did you even know I was coming here?" Amma shook her head, a bitter smile on her lips. "You think you were in control? That you were the hunter?" "You've been hunted this whole time." Ben's eyes narrowed, trying to make sense of her words. His heart pounded harder. She stepped forward. "You would rather send millions to a woman online than provide diapers for your own son. You said I was ugly, worn out, ruined because I gave birth to your child." She pointed at him, her voice rising. "You desired perfection, seduction, mystery. I gave you exactly that." Ben blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" "At Ada_Lux, that was me." The words hit like thunder. Ben staggered slightly, as if he'd been pushed. No, that's not possible." She laughed, a short, painful laugh. "I hired a young woman to use her photos, but every word, every message, every voice note was me. And you? You gave me $800 million after calling me lazy, saying I was a burden." Ben stood frozen, his mouth open but no words came out. "You thought you were escaping me. You were running straight into my arms and didn't even know it. I watched you fall deeper and deeper. You called me ugly while texting me, 'You're the most beautiful woman I've ever met.' Do you see now? You were never looking for love, Ben. You were looking for escape from the responsibility of being a husband and a father." Tears burned in Ben's eyes, but he didn't speak. "You mocked my stretch marks, said I looked tired, but I was up every night feeding our child while you chased fantasy." She looked him square in the eye. "And now, you've handed me the house, legally. The money, gone. We're divorced. That signature you gave me, that was freedom, you said?" She leaned closer. "Now I'm free, and you're just a man who sold his life chasing a lie." Ben stood there humiliated, betrayed, but mostly ashamed. The movers kept working in the background. Her lawyer nodded politely, holding a briefcase. Amma picked up her bag and turned to leave. At the door, she paused. "You once said I ruined your life, but really, you did that all by yourself." Before she left the scene, she said, "And for your information, you actually sold your house to me and still gave the money to me." She laughed. "What a foolish man," she muttered and left. Ben remained in the center of the room, a shell of himself, staring into space. Everything he once had, love, home, family, dignity, gone, and all for a fantasy. Ben sat alone in the front seat of his car, slumped against the steering wheel. His eyes were heavy from days of sleeplessness. The AC had stopped working. The engine was off. No house, no family, no peace. He had nowhere else to go. He picked up his phone again and dialed Amma's number. "This number is no longer available." Blocked. He tried her sister. Blocked. He tried her best friend. No answer. Finally, desperate, he drove out of Lagos toward Amma's hometown, the village he once mocked as too slow for a billionaire. When he arrived at her family home, he was told politely but firmly, "She doesn't want to see you." He tried to plead, tried to explain, but the gate remained closed. He never even got a glimpse of his son. Crushed, Ben drove back to Lagos and went to the only place he had left, his late parents' estate. In frustration, he called his lawyer. "I want to fight back. I want my house, my money, my son. She deceived me." The lawyer sighed on the other end. "Ben, you have no case here. She used her mind. You used your ego. But don't fight this. Don't embarrass yourself. You'll only make headlines as the billionaire who sold his house for a lie. Accept this loss." Quietly, "It's over." The call ended. Ben stood still, phone in hand, helpless. His mind replayed every moment, from the first time he met Amma to the day he pushed her away. She had loved him, prayed for him, stood by him, and he traded her for a fantasy, for a lie. What was he even chasing? He couldn't answer that. Meanwhile, Amma had moved on. She used the money to start a thriving business, hired help, focused on her son. Her heart no longer carried bitterness, only purpose. She never spoke to the press, never told the full story. She didn't need to. Her success was loud enough. She had gotten her pound of flesh without lifting a finger. And Ben? He faded from the spotlight. The media speculated, but no one knew the full truth. He stopped partying. He stopped dating. He stopped living. He had become a ghost of the man he once was. And every night, as he lay awake in a house that echoed with silence, one truth haunted him. "I thought I was hunting love online, but I was the prey all along." And the price of his cruelty was everything.